The content presented in this podcast and YouTube show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard or seen on this show. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of this show are not responsible for any adverse effects resulting from your use of or reliance on any information presented.
Andrea, can you hear us?
Many years ago, I died for 26 seconds. There are so many people in this world that have experienced life events that have led to their soul purpose. Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea will bring you these significant life events that demonstrate how to use those moments for guidance and life purpose. These are our stories. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea Lynn. Today's guest is Trish Ware, and she's here to talk to us about her journey to creating a seven-figure business. Let's welcome Trish.
Hello.
Hello, welcome. Okay, I guess I should have also prefaced to let everyone know we will talk a little bit about labor and delivery because you were. Oh, are you still a labor and delivery nurse?
I'm not on the floor. My
Okay.
business kind of took over. So, yeah.
Okay, but you were.
I was for 16 years. Yes.
Okay. But we're going to go back to the story of how you eventually got to the place of needing to create your own business.
hmm
You were in a marriage that wasn't going well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was in it for a long time. So I married him when I was pretty young.
Okay.
And I think that is, the root of the whole situation is because I was just really young and naive, and he was a charmer, and he said everything. He's very good at saying what you want to hear, but not actually meaning any of it. And it's funny. I didn't, back when I married him, this is when we had pagers. So we didn't have the internet. We didn't have
Yeah.
social media. We weren't as educated as, although it still happens every day for women, for men too, as well. But, we didn't know about verbal and emotional abuse.
No.
And I remember when I first met him, it just felt like amazing attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know, like, he wanted to know everywhere I was going, and, like, he missed me, and he never wanted me to go anywhere with my friends, just be with him because he loved me so much. I came from a home that had a lot of, like, dissension, and my parents were always fighting, and so for me, it just felt so good,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and it hooked me.
I I get it. I've been there. I mean, I don't know too many women that haven't been there at some point or
Mhm.
another, and then you just gotta hope that
Yeah.
you don't stay there.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
and I think genuinely with some people, it's not a malicious, and I don't know if he realized it was malicious. It's
Right.
just who he was, right? And so we went into this very intense relationship when we were super young, and we got married and we moved away from family.
Oh gosh. I know that's always like the worst thing that people do, but I wanna
Yeah.
talk about for a second, I think the point you were making is really important to understand about it's not intentional. It
hmm
sometimes. And so sometimes people think, "Oh, well, if it's not intentional, then it's not that bad." Or I should allow it or I should accept it if they're not intentionally doing that, but that still doesn't make it okay.
No, it doesn't make it okay. And I also think we play a role in acceptance and setting those boundaries right from the beginning.
Mhm.
And I remember in my heart, and I am a Christian, and I felt like God was like warning me, and I just wasn't listening because it
Yeah.
felt so good. And there's no way this could not be good. And so we got married, and it wasn't like entirely his design for us to move away from family. Like we both were like, yes, let's move to Tennessee. We lived in Florida. It was super expensive. And I was pregnant with Elias, and we didn't want to like raise our kids there.
Yeah.
But it was the worst recipe for disaster for me as a person because I moved away from everything I knew.
All your
And
support.
yeah, and no one was able to, like, lay eyes on me. Also, his family were very like, now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's just such layers of unhealthiness," and this it all roots back to his dad as well. His dad is not a healthy person, and they took me in. It was almost like being indoctrinated into a cult.
Older.
Because they just were everything I thought I wanted, and I remember my dad, my dad's passed away now, but he's, like, cut and dry. He's like, "They're not this isn't everything you think it is." Like, he saw it with more wisdom than I did,
Yeah.
but his mom was constantly like, I would go to her with things that felt really bad. Her thing was just love him more, don't tell your mom. Your mom won't like him if you tell him these things. And it was like, I really thought she was coming from this good place, but it wasn't.
Mhm.
But what it did was it set me up to hide. I hid everything for most of our marriage, although I went to a lot of pastors and a lot of like men in our church for help, and for they do not have any business handling situations like this. I am a believer, and I believe that there's a lot of really good people in the church, but I think a lot of times people in leadership take on things that they don't have any expertise or training in dealing with. And
Mhm.
so because he was such a narcissist slash sociopath, like none of us knew what to do. Right. And
Yeah.
so every time I would get help, their advice to me just made our situation worse because it made me more and more compliant. And him,
Yeah.
yeah, it just gave him more power over
Wow.
us. And because I kept everything secret, I wasn't. And honestly, I didn't even really know how to verbalize what was happening to me.
What can I ask, what was the stuff that they were telling you that made you more compliant that in the end was not good and healthy?
So to love him and honor him, have more sex with him, like all the things the Bible like says
Ugh.
to a wife,
Yeah.
but yet the other side of that is the Bible is telling him to lay down his life for her, to love her like,
Yeah.
the church. And so if that is all happening at once, then yes, that is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
fantastic situation. But in mine, it was really just letting him get away with really bad behavior. And like I said, like it took me years away from him after leaving him where I could even verbalize or wrap my mind around the wrongness of what was being done.
Did you do these things that the church was recommending? Because I feel like if you're doing those things and you're doing your part, you're this
I tried.
amazing. What?
I tried. I
Yeah.
tried. I'm not saying I was great all the time because my cup was never being filled. So,
Yeah.
like,
But
I
then
also
for him, but his part, on his part, he's probably feeling like he's doing everything right because here you are being so good to him. So how could he even
well,
think?
and I don't wanna say that I was because I was also getting resentful and bitter and, like, there was a lot of
Yeah.
stuff going on, but I tried everything. But
Yeah.
nothing works with that type of person. Like, unless
Right.
they internally decide they want help and they're willing to be truthful about what is going on. Like, every time we would go in to get help, here I am like, "This is going on," and he would be like, "This victim," like, this meek and never actually tell the truth, and then never follow through on any advice we were given. So, that's what's really hard about emotional and verbal abuse,
Yeah.
is that it's so undercover
It is.
that even the person having it done to them doesn't understand what is happening. Like I was telling you before, I'm a pretty strong-willed person, so to the outside, no one would ever believe this is happening, but it was happening, and
And on the outside, I think a lot of people, especially the people that you're sharing things with, which I know you're saying you didn't share with too many people, but when you do share, sometimes we get to a point where those things that are really hurting us, that's what we're sharing. And we're sharing that more than anything else. So we go and we share this 5% of the time they're being
Yeah.
not kind to us, right? So we share
Yeah.
that 5% with somebody. We don't share the other 95. That's all this love bombing that makes us feel so good. But it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. If that 5% is toxic and unhealthy, then it needs to be
Yeah.
done anyway. But I can understand from the outside for other people, it's like all they know is the bad and they don't see all the
Yeah.
good. They can't understand why you're still allowing it. But for us, yeah, it's hard to see.
Yeah, and like you said, the in between was so good-ish. Like, now I know it wasn't good because now
Yeah.
I'm in a really healthy relationship, but it was like I was the center of his world on the in between, and he loved me so intensely on the in between,
Yeah.
as long as it was going his way and I wasn't stepping on his toes, So it's just such a hard thing, and it took me years, years to get his voice out of my head and figure out what truth was, because
Yeah.
I believed so much of who he told me I was, and all the really strong parts of me that's allowed me to go on and build a seven-figure business and a six-figure coaching business are all the things he hated about me and threatened him, and he convinced me was so bad about me.
What were these things? I think some people will
Yeah,
listen and resonate.
just I've always had this gift of leadership, like being able to take a situation and talk life into it and lead people in general, and he would twist those things into making me feel like I was bossy, or I don't know, like anything good, just turn it around. Like,
Mhm.
I was really good. We had 7 kids. I was really good at budgeting, but that was control.
Mhm.
Because I was controlling the finances, not budgeting. Like, my husband now praises me for those type of things, And
Yeah.
so it's like they can take things that threaten their whatever it is they're doing and make you feel like you're doing something wrong when in our reality, you're not doing something wrong, if that makes even sense. It's just really hard to
Well, I get
explain.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. And in the scheme of it, he just was very like, a very scary presence. That's the thing about him in particular. I don't have experience. I was with him from the time I was a baby till I was 45. So he never screamed and yelled at me, but he had such a quiet, scary presence
Hmm.
that he controlled me and the kids very easily because we were scared of him. Like, he
Yeah.
just had this underlying scariness. Like, I don't know. Like, it's
You just
hard.
Yeah, no, I get it. You just feel like
Yeah.
he could snap, he could explode,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the other thing, we never knew which version of him was coming through the front door. Like, there's the happy, probably high on something now, I was very naive. The happy, like, fun guy who
Yeah.
he got attention from another woman and, like, he felt good about himself, so he'd come through the house or whatever, like, he'd come through
Mhm.
the door, like, super, super happy, and then there would be the guy that would come through, and we would know, "Don't go near him." So that is very traumatizing for children,
Mhm.
particularly to grow up
Right.
in, but I didn't know any better, like, I
Yeah.
didn't know, and some days, he expected me to greet him at the door, that was the thing I was supposed to do, and then other days, why didn't I wait for him to greet me? Like, I have to be the, you know what I mean? It
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh.
I
Yeah.
never knew. I've told my husband now before when we first got together, I didn't know what to do in the car because with my ex, if I got out of the car without letting, because he liked to be a show, like, people needed to see how amazing he was, so he would open the car door for me, but it was just a show, so he didn't always
Yeah.
remember, so sometimes I would literally sit in the car for, like, 5 minutes because I didn't know if I should get out or not.
You're like, "Is the show on today or not?"
So now I think of that and I'm like, "Why in the hell did I put up with that?" But
Yeah.
when you're in the midst of it, there is no reason to it. It's literally insanity, and
Mhm.
you learn to cater to those little things because it's easier in
Yeah.
your mind. It's not really easier, that is a lie.
That is a lie. I lied.
Like, yeah, but you think that it's easier because if I went against his rules,
Yeah.
they punish us, so it's like, yeah.
Your nervous system must have been going haywire with all this.
My nervous system
Yeah.
still has, like, it's a joke in my house that I get so easily startled, but that is actually a sign of abuse.
Yeah.
Like, I can't be walked on, you can't walk up and sneak on me. That is not good for me at all. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get out of the relationship.
Mhm.
How did you get out? Just like years of therapy and
So
learning?
yeah, so I did seek therapy a lot, and in 2014, he fell and he got a traumatic brain injury, and that literally was the thing that began the path to me and the kids getting free. Because after that, he wasn't as scary.
Mhm.
He wasn't as intimidating. He still tried to be, but it just did not come off the same. Like, it just
Mm,
wasn't the same, which is
okay.
very strange, but it took away a lot of the fierceness and the thing that scared us most about him, and it also took away the ability for him to be as charming and do the in between that
Yeah.
reeled him
So
back in.
okay.
'Cause he really like, he had a very significant brain injury. And so he falls, and we left where we lived, which was also really good for me because I got out from under the control of the church that I was in, because it was very much, and I don't wanna say their heart was in a bad place, but they just didn't know what they were dealing with. And so it got me out of that, and I was able to just see things clearer, and a lot of his behavior that he did well before the brain injury just was really ridiculous.
Mm,
Like, he just wasn't the same, and he just didn't have the same impulse control, all those things. So it really was like a step towards my freedom. And
yeah.
so from 2014, I was pregnant. I was 42, pregnant with this surprise baby. And he falls like he should have been dead. Like, honestly, I still ask God, like, I don't understand why he kept him alive because he's just done horrific things since then. I mean, I'm telling like, I told you my family's like in the Tennessee state stay at home safety program. Like, he's done some really, like, I mean, I'm just being really real, like, I'm a really
Yeah.
real person,
Oh,
but, like, you really wonder, you've got these really good people who die,
I hear that.
and then you've
Yeah.
got someone who is literally tormenting people who lives, and I mean, I won't lie and say that I even understand, I don't, I still wonder.
Mhm.
But in the process of that, our lives changed. We moved back to Florida, and so I was out from under, like, that I don't know, and if anybody's listening that can understand, like, sometimes churches, they mean really well, but they're diving into situations that are way above their pay grade, and we really need someone who is trained in
Yeah.
narcissistic,
Mhm.
verbal abuse, like, that is just a lot more than, "Let's just pray and forgiveness and go
Yeah.
on." There needs to be healing. And so in the process of that, I think I told you I didn't realize how abused I was. Like, I couldn't even put words into what was happening because it was all I knew. And so in the process of getting help, because I am very much an action taker. And so I was like, we need to figure out how to deal with the brain injury. We need help as a family. So I was getting us all this help with therapists and psychotherapists and people who deal with brain injury. In the process of that, they were giving us advice. It was really healthy advice, but that had never been the dynamics of our family, but it was giving me and the kids, like, a little bit of freedom to speak up and, like, "Oh, do we have a right to say no to those things?" Like,
Yeah.
now probably the therapist thought this is new behavior because of the brain injury, but it was really established behavior with a lot of the things. And then in 2019, we had moved back to Tennessee. We moved to Nashville. And throughout our marriage, like, I was just so dumb, honestly. I look back now, like, I was so naive and dumb. Like, I started dating him when we had pagers. We didn't have social media. We didn't have all the things. And, like, I
Yeah.
was just very gullible, very naive. And so I had caught him doing things that you don't wanna catch your husband doing, but I believed him that it wasn't what I thought it might be. It was always very innocent. It wasn't. But in 2019, like, I just felt this,
I'm
like,
sorry. I'm sorry. I am laughing because I had this is a terrible story, and if my dad's listening, just stop listening now. This is not you're not gonna wanna hear this one. But I had I had an ex that got cannot remember what it was. He got, like, I wanna say gonorrhea or something, some STD, and he called me and was like, "Hey, I need to let you know, like, you probably have da 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 because I have da da da." And I was like, "Oh my god, okay, whatever," right? And I don't remember how far into the relationship this was, but I go to the doctor and then I don't have it. So then I'm like, "Well, this is weird." But then, like, he was like, "Oh, I don't know how that happened," and I don't know what his excuse was, some, like, BS, and I totally was like, "Oh, maybe, okay,"
'Cause
like,
your brain wants to believe it, because the alternative is you have to deal with it,
I'm
you
like,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy, I'm like, "If I'm sleeping with you and you've got whatever, I'm gonna get it too,"
It's
but,
yeah, it's coming from somewhere. Didn't just happen.
we're
Yeah, but I and that was the thing, and we had a lot of kids, and it just was easier, I think, to bury my head. Like, I just was suppressing the emotions, but in the process of him falling, in the middle of our marriage, I became a labor nurse, which I am obsessed with birth. I love birth, and that gave me an outside perspective as well in some ways because I was able to hear these other women, like, talking and, like, nurses are just, like, no BS, right? And so it allowed me to start growing as a woman and as a person. I would be at work and I'm saving lives. People are counting on me to keep them alive, and then I would go home and be made to feel like I was
yeah.
stupid and an idiot and couldn't do anything right. And it was just not balancing out, right? And then the brain injury happens, and I'm under, like, this really bad patriarchic type advice that you get a lot of times in the church.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not against the church at all. I go to an amazing church now that is not like that. But I'm coming out of that, and I got plugged into a group, like, I got plugged into a great church and some people in South Florida, and it was a lot of Hispanic women, which they don't take shit, like, and so I was just getting poured into in different ways and growing and going to therapy thinking that I was learning how to be a better wife for someone with a brain injury. After I ended up leaving him, I'm now in Nashville, and I caught a hold of her, and I know that she was trying to gradually bring me into seeing how abusive my relationship was, but she knew had she just revealed it to me then, I don't know that I could have survived knowing it, if
Mhm.
that makes any sense. I
No,
wasn't ready.
I had a therapist that did the same when I was in that relationship because all of a sudden I had been doing completely fine. I had depression when I was younger and then dealt with it, and I was fine for a long, long time. And then I was in this relationship and I thought my life was really good. Everything was where I thought I wanted it to be. And so I couldn't understand why I was feeling depression again. Like, where did
Mhm.
this come from? So I started seeing this therapist, a cognitive behavioral therapist, which is one of my favorite is CBT for therapy, is cognitive
Yeah.
behavioral therapy. And we started doing the therapy, and at the end, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in an abusive relationship, emotionally abusive relationship." I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" And he said, "Because if I would have just told you, A, you might not have even believed me and done anything with it, but also you wouldn't have known how to figure it out and
Mhm.
get out on your own next time." So
Yeah.
I get it. It's not that easy. You can't just tell
No.
people, "Hey, look, this is really what I see, so you should just leave." Like, you have to
Yeah.
come to it on your
Doesn't
own,
work that
unfortunately.
way. Yeah, and
Yep.
sometimes it takes 27 years,
Sometimes.
unfortunately.
Sometimes. Well, okay, so you said something really
Some
important.
people's skulls are thicker than others.
They are. I wanna ask you about something we were talking about, how you were saying when things are really hard, sometimes, like, a difficult moment, like I was talking about, it was just easier to just, like, "Okay," and you were talking about that too, how it's just easier sometimes to just maybe, like, not
I
really
think
dive
it's
in.
I think it's some kind of backwards survival instinct. I don't know
What
because
will you do
for
with that? How do you deal with that?
I think that comes to educating our children on how to see verbal, emotional, how to abuse, how to set boundaries for themselves, and then honoring their boundaries
Mhm.
as well. Because I grew up in a home where my mom, don't listen to this, please.
So much censoring.
I grew up in a home where people in my home made boundaries seem selfish and unacceptable. And there was a lot of emotional, like, I was trained that this is how people love you. And so I think it all goes back to us honoring our children as people and teaching them that having boundaries isn't bad, feeling emotions isn't wrong. And so I was taught that if I set boundaries, I was selfish. If I felt emotions, they were always wrong. I was always wrong. And they were never valid and right. So I really was. just handed to him on a silver platter. Like I was the perfect, and people like him, they know the women that are not gonna put up with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I'm not saying like the type of woman because you could be susceptible to this, whether or not you think you are,
Yeah.
because it's not just a certain type of woman who like you did, I did, and we're pretty strong ass women, right? So I think that for me, I can only speak for me, but I had a lot of kids
Okay,
and
I gotta stop you though.
yeah,
When you say we're really strong women, I think there's something that makes a strong woman though, a woman that's been through a lot of shit, right? Like
yes,
we've toughened up because we've had to walk through a lot of stuff. But because we have been through a lot of different things, we also have
yeah,
the soft spots in our hearts and these broken pieces that are still maybe there to a degree. So people can
mhm.
sometimes get to us in that way.
Yeah. Well, and that's my point. Like you can't you just don't know because like you said, there might be this part inside of you that hasn't healed yet. And you're not aware of it until
Right.
that right key gets put into that lock and turns it on because
Exactly.
you just don't know. And I don't even know where I was going with that. Where was I going with
I don't know now.
I don't either. Oh,
All
I
right.
know. So in 2019, after going through the brain injury with him, and like I had to wipe this man's booty, right? Like I had to help him walk. He couldn't talk or breathe. Like I had sacrificed a lot for him at this point. Like not just the rest of the marriage, but just this in particular. It was like being married to a 12-year-old. And so it was just difficult, and like I said, what really kept me around for so long was the in between, the love bombing,
Yeah.
the "You're the light of my life, you're my world," that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
and so after the brain injury, he just couldn't maintain that suave
Yeah.
stuff anymore, so take away that, what is left, right?
Yeah.
Like, in between was not so
Glamorous.
wonderful. Yeah, and so it was really just a lot of hard, and so in 2019, I found him he was doing stuff again because he men like him need constant validation.
Yes.
They need to be constantly reminded how amazing they are, and if the people at home are not telling them that, they will find someone who will. There's
Yeah.
always someone stupid enough to do so, and so I looked in his phone, and it was just, like, all I needed. I had decided prior to his brain injury, he had gotten a lot of help. He went into, like, a one-year ministry, like, he lived there, he got all this help. It was a huge sacrifice for all of us,
Sorry,
and
I had to share a story. You're talking about that, like, looking in his
I want
phone.
yes.
Oh my god.
Forever.
I had an ex, and I found this picture of this girl, and she was golfing, but it was just kind of like a downward angle and just, like, lots of boob, whatever, and I'm like, "What is this?" Oh, she was just showing me her golf swing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Here's my theory, if you ever feel like you need to check your partner's phone, you're probably not in the right relationship.
I had never felt that until one day I wanted to do something on his phone, and he, like, snatched it from me, and I was
So
like,
that's a bad sign.
"Whoa, that was a bad sign." Yeah, so
Oh,
that
well, let me
night
tell you a story. After I broke up with after I left him, he okay, this is how bad this guy makes you feel crazy. I have had 4 of his ex-girlfriends since we divorced contact me trying to figure out what the hell is happening because they didn't know what that was happening. But he beat up a girlfriend for taking his phone out of his hand.
oh my gosh. Well, see,
Yeah,
mine,
broke her
luckily,
ribs.
he got too drunk and passed out, so I was able to, like, swipe it away
Yeah.
that night to, like, look through it to
Yeah.
confirm things, and it was bad. But anyway,
Yeah. I mean, he was just studying up on his golfing.
yeah. No, he definitely was not.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
there was
really
another girl that
amazing.
just, like, left her purse in his car, but it just somehow, like, she had just set it in there, they didn't go anywhere, I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and even worse is when they are able to blame it on you. Like,
Yeah.
there was many times when I would catch him, like, having conversations and, like, I really was so stupid, I thought it stopped there, but it was because I wasn't meeting his needs.
Yes,
I wasn't filling him
I've heard
his
that.
cup.
Yeah,
And it's like, "Okay, all right," but in the midst of that, you believe that. Like, you
yeah.
believe, like, you probably did something wrong. And with him, like, before the brain injury, I would go into an argument with him knowing exactly what I knew, but I would leave it feeling so turned upside down and not knowing what the hell happened. Like, he
Mhm.
just was so good at that. It's just confusing me. So 2019, I was like, "I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm over." And I had, from the time he fell until then, I had been in therapy and I'd had my daughter in therapy as well. Well, a couple of my kids, but my youngest daughter, because most of the kids were adults when he fell.
Okay.
And so my youngest 3 were at home, and then my youngest 2 have been in therapy from the get because he had a brain injury. So he fell when I was pregnant with Grayson. So Grayson has really never been around him
Mm.
significantly, thank God, because he was 4 when I left him.
Mhm.
And I had never left him alone with him because of the brain injury. So he never experienced the degree of abuse that everyone else has. And so in 2019, I'll never forget, I went to my therapist. I was done. Like one of my pastors told me one time that inside of every woman, there's a light switch and it'll flicker. But if it gets to off, like come hell or high water, it's hard to get it back on.
Mm.
And my light was completely off. Like the switch was down. There was nothing. Like I was so done.
Yeah.
You just put me through so much hell. And then to go through the brain injury. And I'm like, "Really? You're still gonna choose other women?" And, like, at that point, I felt like something was wrong with me. Hadn't realized it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Not that I was a perfect wife, because I don't wanna come off like I didn't know all the things I know now, but there's really hard to do the right things when you're in a really unhealthy relationship because you never know what end is up. So
Right.
but anyway, so I'll never forget my therapist. She held out like because he was making me all these promises, like, "Give me a year," and she's like, "Yeah, it's been, 20 something years, like,
Yeah.
do
You've
you
had some time.
really yeah, do you think he's capable? Like, do you believe that he's capable of doing these things?" And because he wanted a year to, like, get his act together and stuff, and I was like, "No." And she's like, "Why are you waiting then?
Yeah.
Do you if you really don't think so." And then she said, "I want you to picture your life a year from now and you're at peace. What does that look like?" And I could not at all describe what that looked like at all. But what is so beautiful about my story is I had just started Labor Nurse Mama, which is my birth business, in July, and I kicked him out. Or in June, I'd really started focusing on social media and growing through content and like, and this was the end of July, I kicked him out. And a year later, I had a multi six-figure business. I met my husband and we got married in a whirlwind, which is bad if you're listening, don't do that. It may not pan out as well as it did for me. Thank God it did because he's incredible. And it's been hard because
Yeah.
like I told you, it's taken me we've been married 5 years, and the first year of my marriage was fighting this monster, and then the second year was fighting this monster, and, like, a lot of my healing came from Steve's kindness and,
Yeah.
like, not having to say I'm sorry for everything and not having to ask for permission for everything. And as my business is growing on the backside, I was dealing with a lot of trauma and he threatened my life several times. And so now we have protective orders. And so, but I'll tell you what, there's nothing more revealing than to stop obeying a person like him. Like he had control over me since we were kids. And suddenly he lost control
Wow.
and he legit lost control. Like he went
Yeah,
off.
I bet he didn't even know what to do with himself because he had nothing to control anymore.
No, and none of his tactics worked on me
Mhm.
because the other good thing was, in some sense, is that I'm like, Steve and I got married rather quick. So I really honor that relationship, which I did with him too, And so Steve he's the first outsider to really see because my ex took the veil off in front of him. He had never done that. Everyone else only had me and the kids trying to tell them, and
Mhm.
then they see this, like, perfect character. But Steve saw it, and so it was the first time we really had validation that we're not the crazy ones, like, this guy is off the rocker because he had just manipulated us so
Yeah.
much. So, that was real and then just in court, like, he just kept decomposing. Like, my lawyer was like, "Let's just let him hang himself. Let's step back and let him," and he really did.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I wish that I had a camera for some of the stuff we went through. Like,
Oh my god.
it's funny now, it was
Yeah.
not funny then,
No.
but mm, yeah,
Yeah.
huge thing.
I'm sure people like that, they're just so, like, they lack so much self-awareness that the things that they do sometimes, you're just like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh."
Well,
Like,
let
do
me
you
just
not
yeah, let me tell you how bad this guy is, right? This is he had me and the kids, like this perfect storm of obedient, like there was no one else speaking into it. So he just had like just a perfect little garden of control. And when I took that away, what was really revealing to me when I left him, my kids, like most of my kids stopped talking to him, and most of them have not talked to him since 2019.
Mhm.
But I was so blinded to how badly we were all abused. And then afterwards, a lot of them abused or revealed a lot more abuse than I knew about. So we've dealt with that in court as well. And that's their stories. But once I stepped away and gave them permission to step away, we have such a tight relationship, and all of them are on a different journey of healing. But he always had us who just we catered to his dipshit behavior, right? And so we're in court. This is just so revealing of his character. And my lawyer's a woman, which he doesn't like strong women, right?
Yeah.
And so she's questioning him, and he asks her a question from the stand. Like, have you not watched crime shows? You're not allowed to ask a lawyer a question.
Uh,
And I look back at my husband and he was like, we're like, what is happening right now? Because he
yeah.
literally was like, you tell me, like to my lawyer, like he's questioning her. And I have told them how he is, but no one has seen it yet, right? And she is like flabbergasted. And the judge is flabbergasted. And the judge goes, you need to answer the question to my ex.
Yeah.
And so my lawyer starts asking the question again. And my ex goes, he told you you need to answer the question to my lawyer.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, this is the epitome of what my life has been like.
Yeah. Oh my
Like,
gosh.
but he was so used to having that power, like that
Yeah.
unquestioned power. And then add in the brain injury, just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I'm sure the
It
judge
was
was like,
like,
and this is why we're here.
I wish I could have filmed it.
Yeah.
That would have been really interesting to have. But yeah, so luckily we haven't heard from him. It'll be 2 years in January. So
Is he still alive, you think?
I don't know.
Oh,
I think so, but I
yeah.
don't know. I mean, I don't know how I'd know. So
Yeah. Huh.
yeah,
Gosh. Well, you
yeah.
said some of your kids still talk to him though, right? You said
No, nobody
oh,
does. So
none of
he
them.
had when I left him, thank God, I told you I was so naive and stupid. And in our parenting plan, I asked for supervised visits for my youngest because he had a brain injury, not because I knew how abusive he
Yeah.
was. Like
Yeah.
it was just because he had a brain injury and it was unsafe. He would make really unsafe decisions, and he was 4. So it was like in my mind, until he was old enough to be like, "Hey, dad, this isn't safe. He needs to be supervised." Well,
Mhm.
we put in there that I would supervise them or one of my adult children, which they wouldn't have. But
Yeah.
my lawyer snuck in there or a professional supervisor. And thank goodness for my lawyer's wisdom at the
Yeah.
time, because if I hadn't, that I don't know what I would have done. But when all the abuse started coming out and my children reported it, we already had supervised visits in place. And so
Mhm.
Grayson has never been alone with him, ever.
Mhm.
Lainey was 14 when I left him, and she has never had a visit with him. And Grayson had supervised with a supervisor. Well, a narcissist can only handle that for so long. He'd have to pay, and he had a babysitter.
Yeah.
So he tried fighting that, but the more he fought it, the more stuff came out of why it should be in place. So I'm
Yeah.
just really thankful I had that put in place
Yeah.
because it protected Grayson. And
Yeah.
Grayson is the most emotionally intelligent 10-year-old you have ever met in your life, because he's been in therapy since he was born.
Mm.
So he
Oh,
is just on it. And
yeah.
Steve and I have been together since he was 5.
Okay.
So he calls him dad, and Steve is just so good to him.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy you
Thank
got
God.
out of it. I'm happy you found somebody amazing.
I'm really fortunate.
Yeah.
Like,
Very.
I always joke it could have been I was not I don't know how that happened, honestly. I'm just
Yeah.
so grateful that it did,
Yeah.
because I was not in a healthy place. Like, I would recommend if you're in a relationship like that and you leave, you need to work on just you and heal you longer than I did.
Yeah. I know. I wish I could say something different, but I kind of did the exact same thing as you. I mean, I met my husband and we were married in about a year. So
Oh,
started
I'm
dating it.
really
Yeah.
hesitant to tell you how quickly we got
You probably beat me, but I mean,
Like 20
maybe.
days.
Oh, 20 days. Oh,
We knew each other when we were kids, though. I will
oh,
say that.
okay.
So we knew each other as kids. Yeah.
That's a little different then.
It
It's
is
not
a little different. It wasn't a but still, I'm really lucky. Like, they it could have played out real bad.
well, I mean, but you kind of know where he comes from in a little bit because otherwise, like, I feel like you have to spend the first few months just figuring out who somebody is. Are you really
Yeah.
a serial
Well,
killer
we
or
did
not?
talk online. So he's literally the only one and only man I've ever friend requested on social media. For me, I have, like, over 650,000 followers on all the places,
Yeah.
but I don't use social media.
Yeah.
But somehow the algorithm that will started showing me him on Facebook, and it was in COVID, and I my divorce should have been final, but the courthouses closed down,
Yeah.
and so I kept seeing him, and finally I was like, "Trish, you can friend request him." And I didn't realize who he was because I hadn't seen him since we were
Oh,
kids.
wow. Okay.
And so and he was friends with all my friends that I knew growing up. And so we started talking, but not like flirting talking, just talking, and
Yeah.
he has been through a lot of suffering as well. And I think like what you said earlier about suffering, you think your suffering defines you, but it can refine you.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to define you, but it changes you if you let it. And we get to choose. And that's what you and I were kind of talking about before, which we totally got off track and didn't talk
Yeah.
about. But you do get to choose, and I think that was the turning point for me is that I felt like my life would never be different. This is what it was, and it's because I chose it. I chose him. I'm stuck in this, like, I can't leave this, and it'll never be different.
Mhm.
But I finally realized, yes, I get to choose, like, I have a choice, and just her showing me, like, what picturing my life a year from now, well, it didn't just happen, I made it happen. I
Yeah.
chose different choices. I chose you hear those saying, like, "You keep doing what you always done, you're always gonna get the same result." Well, it's true.
Yeah.
And I changed everything, and I
Mm.
chose to change everything, and when Steve and I started talking, there's just something about someone else who has suffered that connects you in a way,
Mhm.
and he's never been married, and he's never had kids, and then he
Nice.
meets me this hot mess, with 7 kids,
7.
and he's adopted 2 of my adult kids have asked him to adopt him, and he's adopted 2 of
Oh,
them, and they all just love him. He's just a like, I really, really am so fortunate, but it was also
yeah.
about choices I was making at the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. For people listening, Trish and I were talking about that before we started, just talking about how I talk about it a lot, but she was kind of saying the same thing when people feel like, oh, these are just the cards that I was dealt in this life and I just have to live in it. Like it's really not true. There's always a
not
way to
true.
make change. I feel like week after week, I have brought so many stories that are vastly different with the struggles that people have gone through, but they have all found a way out. And so that's why I love doing those, bringing these stories because
Yeah.
you went from this terrible, terrible relationship and probably terrible mindset as well that you could have
Mhm.
just kept in that place. But instead, you
Yeah.
really turned things around and built this amazing business. Can we talk about your business for a minute?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I started the Labor Nurse Mama in really started treating it like a business. I started it in 2018,
Okay.
but we started sort of a branch of it in 2017. It refined itself. It just kept refining itself until it became Labor Nurse Mama in 2019. And I just what I love about both topics we're talking about is you get to choose and define if you want to build a business online. I tell my client, because I now also mentor women, especially women who are B2C, like they're marketing to moms or parents or people wanting life change, not necessarily someone building their income, which is a totally different type of marketing. I realized that really quick when I was hiring mentors for Labor Nurse Mama.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I built this business just based on what I love, which is birth, and what I know, which is birth. And so I was really taken aback throughout my career on how women's rights and their voices are stripped. Funny enough that I was in an abusive relationship, but in the hospital, there's a lot of coercion and love bombing
Yeah.
and, gaslighting going on. And so I would watch these, what could be like amazingly intervention free births being turned into like a whole production. And all of these interventions happening and just women's voices stripped from them.
Mhm.
And finally in 2019, I was like, It's enough." And it was a
Mhm.
really hard because I was really afraid that all my colleagues would be like, almost like I was revealing things I shouldn't be revealing or saying things. But I was finally like, no, like it's about her having the birth that she wants, not a perfect
Mhm.
birth because you can't guarantee that, but a birth
Mhm.
that you're navigating the decisions and you're making the choices. And that was really, really important to me that that was happening. And so I just started educating and sharing what I knew
Yeah,
online.
it's
And
kind of a scary place when you go in for the birth. I know I've heard from so many moms where they have their birth plan, they share their birth plan, and it's just completely ignored.
yeah, which is pathetic.
It is.
Or it's looked at like you did something wrong. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, she's that patient," and it's like, hello, she educated herself and she
Yeah.
put down her thoughts and her desires onto a piece of paper, and you're gonna act like something's wrong with that? Like, this is her birth, and that is the thing that is, like, I'm so passionate about, and a lot like, my clients who I mentor, a lot of them are birth educators or doulas or labor nurses, and people are like, "I can't believe you educate your competitors, like, you're helping your." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't have a scarcity mindset, like, there's enough for all of us,
Yeah.
like, how
Yeah.
many babies are born every day?" But the real
Yeah.
point of it is that's more of us sharing truth and empowering women, and that's what I really wanna see is women, whether it's in the birth or it's with their business or it's with their marriage, like, you being able to make choices.
Mhm.
It's so important.
Yeah, I remember with my first, we had surrogates for both of them, but the first I wanted the delayed cord clamping, and the doctor was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, sure," and then it happened, and I was like, "What was that?" That was like, I don't know, 5 seconds? I mean, I wanted the cord white, I wanted the blood to go back to the baby, what just happened here? But then I also learned, like, maybe that was my fault for not I mean, I think it's both of us, like,
Yeah.
I should have said exactly what I wanted, like, "I want all the blood to go back, I want the cord to be white," and then she should have also asked me, "Well, what is your expectation or what is your definition of delayed cord clamping?" Because maybe
Yeah.
that was hers, was not so immediate, but, like, 10 seconds later, 5 seconds later,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and if you tell them until the cord is white and it's done pulsating, to be honest, that could be 20 seconds. It just depends on the heart rate. It depends on
Yeah,
all of it.
yeah.
But
It
it
wa
yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
when you see that it's white, it's definitive. It's
yeah,
white.
yeah,
They can't fluff around on that because a lot of my students will be like, "Oh, well, I talked to my doctor and he said that's what they do anyway." And I was like, Let's go deeper on that because
yeah.
their idea might be different, like you said." And
Mhm.
so you wanna be very clear on your expectations with them.
Yeah,
And also, you hired them. Like, this is their job, and
mhm,
we all do our jobs a certain way, and it's not like they're being like, I'm not saying they're all malicious or anything, but they get into the rut of doing their job a certain way. So this is your birth, though. This is your only birth with
yeah,
this baby.
mhm,
So you have to be very specific as to what you want
mhm.
because they're gonna lean back into what they do as their job
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, it's your one shot, but yeah, no, that's a really good point. It's just making sure that everybody has the same expectations and
Yeah.
understanding of their definitions of
Yeah.
what this and that is once you get into that
Well,
place.
it's just like saying, "I wanna have a natural birth." That means so many things differently to each person. Like,
Mhm.
some person, that means, "I wanna have a vaginal birth." Some people, that means, "I wanna have a birth with no meds." Some people, that means, "I wanna have a birth, but I'm okay with having nitrous oxide, or I'm okay with having IV narcotics, but not
Yeah.
an epidural." So, like, even just in that, like, it's very wide range,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Do you have any tips for people on how they can make a transition like you did from a career and make it into something even bigger, like a bigger career?
well, I really think it all comes down to treating like, if you want to build a business, treat it like a business. Like, it is not just a little side it was like, for me in 2019, I was like, I believed in it, and I believed that I could do it, and I treated it like a business. Like, I dedicated time to it. I learned as much as I learned my career, I decided I need to learn these different aspects of building an online business, and so I've invested a lot of money, I've invested time, and it paid off, like,
Mhm.
because I treated it like a business and I did not give up. I always say that's, like, my biggest quality is a never giver upper
Yeah.
because I did it's hard. Building an
Yeah.
online business will try your patience, like, it's
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah.
So
You just
I
have to
would
keep at
say
it.
make a decision, start, don't try to be perfect, be messy, show up imperfectly, and
Mhm.
don't quit. My big, big, big rules for you right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the number one thing that you coach people on?
Content and messaging.
Okay.
It's the most important. It is the front. If you're building a business online, which I have a lot of people who have in-person businesses that are now trying to either get more known online or build an online side of their
Okay.
business. But the most important thing, like, and a lot of people just think it's like something they're doing to help their business, but really content and messaging is like, I always say, like, you have a brick and mortar building. It's like not putting a sign out front and not opening your door. Do you really think you're gonna sell your product, right? So
Yeah.
content and messaging when you're building an online business is like the thing. And through that is how I grew a seven-figure birth business was content and messaging and being consistent.
Just keep at it. And so you're saying you help people that are not everybody's a nurse.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
I have a lot of people who know me as labor nurse almost, so they find me that way, but I have
Okay.
doctors, nurses, financial strategists, service providers, mostly people that are B2B, not
Okay.
I mean B2C,
UCs.
not
Yeah.
B2B. Yeah,
Okay.
not business to
Okay.
business, but I do have a few. What's really good about what I teach them is that it will work for B2B, but B2B marketing, bro marketing does not work really well when you're marketing to a mom whose boobs are leaking and her bottom's sore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't care about like the hooks and the strategies that a lot of business owners use.
Mhm.
I mean, it's so much different. And if someone's listening who's in the B2C, they'll understand what I'm saying immediately. It's just a different type of marketing. And like a
Yeah.
lot of coaches, I'm definitely a unicorn when it comes to being a business mentor.
Mhm.
You know, no one is the one that's one thing I would say is there's not one thing that's going to be the answer to your business. You are. It's
Yeah.
you. And a good business mentor can help you with a specific situation like issue or what have you, which I know how to build the entire business. I built it all. I
Mhm.
know every aspect of it. But content and messaging is something a lot of people don't treat intentionally.
Mhm.
And it's really important.
Yeah.
And content could be your podcast, it could be social media, it could be email, whatever's forward facing
Yeah.
to the client.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. That was entertaining for me.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me.
Yeah, that was a fun conversation, but I think it's also very inspirational because you shared a lot of truth there
Yeah.
for all those difficult times that you had, and I think it's gonna be helpful for people to just hear
Yeah.
and feel not so alone.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing, if you are in that situation, is to know that it really is as simple as choosing you're done.
Mhm.
Like I know for me, like the thought, like I didn't know what was on the other side, but I did know it couldn't have been worse.
Mhm.
So it's like it, but my brain told me it could be. But
Yeah.
honestly, being alone and being able to make your own decisions and stand on your own feet, like, I was willing to lose everything
Mhm.
if I had to.
I know people just have to get to that point, but
Yeah.
and I know some of us are just wired a little bit differently because I'm kind of the same way where I ask myself those self-reflective questions of, "Am I done? Is this the best for me? Yes or no?" And, like, it's pretty cut and dry for me. It's like, "Okay, if this isn't the best for me, I'm done. That's it. Moving on. I'm not allowing anything to have me deviate from this. I'm gonna stick with this and follow
Yeah.
through." And so I think, though, for some people, they're just not wired that way, and it does take a little longer.
Well, I wasn't always wired that way, and I wasn't
Yeah.
that self-reflective when I left, but I was
Yeah.
done. But
Yeah.
looking back, what kept me was fear, and fear is never true.
Mhm.
It's not true. So if you can step even if you're afraid, even if you don't know what it'll look like, just believe the fact that your fear is not real. It's not true.
Right.
It's not telling you the truth. So if
Mhm.
you're afraid to leave, like even take a trial, like do a trial and be like, okay, I'm take baby steps for it. What is the next thing you need to do and just do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you're done, if you decide I am done, start laying it out. How are you going to be done? How are you going to follow through with being done instead of letting yourself fall back into it?
Yeah. And start like find someone safe to talk to.
Mhm.
That was really important for me to like
Yeah.
verbalize it.
Mhm.
So
Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
So if they're pregnant and they want to, or postpartum, you can find me on all the socials, labor.nurse.mama. If you want some business mentorship, then you can find me. I am Trish Ware
Okay.
online.
Okay. Thank you.